Welcome back, Billiken fans. It's Zach Miller and Peter Hale. This is the Midtown Madness Podcast. Before we get going, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to click that like and subscribe buttons. Of course, as always this season, the Midtown Madness is brought to you by Two Men in a Garden. Not only is it Billiken season again, but as we head further into fall, not only is the weather unbelievable, especially here in St. Louis, NFL season is back, and what goes great with football on Sundays? Salsa. Whether you like it mild or hot, chunky or cantina style, Two Men in a Garden have you covered. You can pick up their many products at any local grocery stores here in St. Louis or online at twomeninthegarden.com. Follow them on social at Two Men Salsa on Insta and Twitter. All right, Billiken fans, we kind of hinted at this, but we weren't sure if it was going to happen. It has. Today we have a special guest for you, MaJuan Bates, also known as Big Guard.
Big Guard!
He came to the attention of a lot of SLU fans in the past couple weeks after releasing an awesome video with SLU, point guard Yuri Collins. We wanted to break down the video itself and everything that went into making it. But we also wanted to get to know the man behind Big Guard himself and hear about what he's trying to accomplish with his platform. MaJuan, welcome to the Midtown Madness Podcast.
Hey, man, I'm proud. Midtown Madness doing something for the city, St. Louis. So, I had to come on and show some love.
Yeah, I like seeing. I don't hear much about creators coming out of St. Louis. I've seen, there's a couple. There's like a cooking show guy, and then there's like another guy who just does commentary videos. But you don't see much that comes out of like the actual city of St. Louis.
Right.
The inspiration behind Big Guard seems to be your own experience as a smaller guard and everything that comes with it, especially being overlooked or underestimated. When did it click that this was more than just your identity as a player, and it could become something bigger like a YouTube channel?
I think it really clicked during my playing career. Honestly, I think when I played, I wasn't Yuri Collins. I wasn't a D1 guy. I was another kid from St. Louis, feeling like he was bigger, the level that he was getting recruited as, just because much going into the world of basketball. I didn't know how many kids was chasing this dream and how just the dream is sold everywhere, all 50 states. So, being able to get my opportunity to play basketball at the NAIA level, I knew that the route that I took, with it really being prolonged, because it took me all 5 years to get my opportunity. I just knew I wanted to get back in a way where small guards like myself could not only have a voice, but be appreciated. I always felt like small guys was underappreciated. It was always a problem in today's game. And I'm always a person that I look for solutions, man. So when everybody's complaining on why the small guard, isn't useful in the game, I try to find and show the advantages of why we are, and why we are the most marketable athletes that the game has, because it's a similarity that you get with every small guy. It's a sense of personality, and I think it's a sense of just being able to be relatable. The average person ain't 6'6", the average person ain't 6'7". It's around that 5'10", 6 foot range. So when you see those guys excel, you really see something that really bigger than your eyes and your hands to point. So I like showing love to those guys because I feel like they underrepresented, don't really have a voice. So I just want to show the greatness that every small guy has, and how in a major picture of the game, like, we are the actual big guards. You know what I'm saying? We are the actual guys making the big time plays, living up to the big time moments. Because if you don't got that big time factor as a small guard, you won't be on the floor. That's just what it is.
I definitely appreciate that. I will die on the hill that if I wasn't 5'10", that I would have made money playing some sport somewhere. Not a lot of money, but right. I think I would have.
Yeah, for sure.
So you call Big Guard the only platform dedicated to undersized guards with a mission to build the skills and IQ necessary to make it in the game. What do you see as the primary function of Big Guard as an entity? Is it breaking down film? Is it workouts? Is it connecting these kind of players to one another, or just creating content targeted at this kind of player?
Okay, so I actually look at it as a network. When you first start anything, everybody usually have a orchestrated business plan, but I think when you find something like you're truly passionate about, it constantly evolves and the vision constantly progresses. So I started off breaking down film. I had this software called Synergy. We used to use it in college, but I was a guy in college. My teammates got pictures and videos of me sleeping film. Like I wasn't a guy. I slept in class. So in the film room, I was a little sleepy. So, just using that software and seeing how it broke down the game when I got out of college, I was like, yo, I could use Synergy to put together my favorite player highlights. And eventually, after I started putting together the highlights, I'm like, yo, I could teach behind these highlights. So that led to me editing the video, learning how to edit. Then I got myself a microphone like you got over there, right there. What's that? It's not a Shure, that's a Yeti. It's a Yeti, right?
Yeah, that's right. The Blue Yeti.
It all started with a Blue Yeti for me. So, I got behind a microphone and I started commentating. And it was dry to begin with, but I had rap dreams like most African-American kids. So I eventually got my flow together and started breaking down film. And just when I started breaking down film, I'm introducing every segment like, yes, sir, big guard tapping in. So, of course, my fears of saying like, oh, do I want to get on camera and say, hey, man, here go this 5'9" guy calling himself big guard. But it made me think about Big Sean. It made me define the word big as a magnitude. And I knew my message and vision was big. So I'm like, nah, I got to run with it. So when I finally went live and got in front of the camera, I just started connecting and meeting a bunch of people. You know what I'm saying? And to say my life been nothing short but a movie since I found really what I was passionate about is an understatement, because it's just a domino effect. You meet this guy, this guy help you. You know what I'm saying? So along the way, the path unraveled. So right now, just creating content, marketing these guys. A lot of these guys got followers and a lot of these people in tune with their story because, they're common sized people. So my biggest thing is just marketing them. And, in the long run, I want to create small guard camps. Like me and Yuri talked, I want to do a camp dedicated to small guards. And I want to do that global because I think, you got majority of the game under the height requirement. So it's a basic fundamental skill set to it. So right now I'm building a network, breaking down footage, showing my basketball expertise. And as the network increases and credibility grows, these guys like Yuri, Wendell Green, a lot of the small guys I'm connected with just have to be able to market them and do camps for them. Use their reach.
Like every kid of a certain generation, obviously Michael Jordan was he was 6'6". The guy. He was the guy, but he was 6'6", right?
Yeah.
And as a 5'10" ish guy, the first person I think of, well, actually I think of Reggie Miller mostly because my last name is Miller, but I spent a decent part of my childhood obsessed with Allen Iverson. And I mean, you obviously also realized that, like I did, that you weren't going to be a certain height. And Allen Iverson caught your attention. What about his game drew?
There it is.
Unbelievable.
Wear it on my chest.
Got the Iverson shirt on.
1996, #1 pick. The shortest first round pick ever. The shortest MVP ever. The Michael Jordan of the big guards right there.
For those listening, audio only, he's wearing an Allen Iverson shirt with the from the draft classes picture in the suit. Amazing suits back then too, of course. Yeah. But what drew you to his game besides height and inspired you?
I think the biggest thing with AI was, growing up in the 90s, Jordan was the poster guy, right? 6'6" guard from North Carolina, from Space Jam to documentaries. I had it all. Michael Jordan jerseys. I think, growing up in that time for everybody who was basketball fans, but I think definitely in the Black culture, Michael Jordan having the nickname Black Jesus was like the person who you looked at to be the savior for basketball. So hearing a guy from 6'6" and really being told that you won't be 6'6", AI came in at that time where I was about 7 during the time, and I was born in 94. So when AI came, like I was able to process AI at 6 or 7 years old, playing the finals against the Lakers. And just night in, night out, with him performing. That was a smaller guy on TV performing at a high level. And, AI just reminded me of a guy from the neighborhood. I didn't grow up in the suburbs, but just having a guy, tattoos, braids, unapologetic, not really media trained. You felt like you were seeing a guy from your neighborhood really make it on a bigger scale and wasn't going to change. So when I saw him, get through the Eastern Conference Finals and play night in, night out, it was like a David and Goliath story. So I was inspired. And then when he went to the finals and that whole Eastern Conference run, taking down Reggie Miller, he took down a bunch of guys. He took down Reggie Miller, Ray Allen, and I think he took down the Raptors too, I believe, T-Mac. I think that was his run through the Eastern Conference. And when he beat the Lakers in game 1, taking down Kobe and Shaq, who was the face of the 2000s, that one game solidified his status for me. And, from there, when I'm on a video game on 2K on a PC, I'm playing with Allen Iverson, just because I felt like the commonality of just small and being doubted was in him. And when he lost against Kobe in the finals, I cried. So that's why I never was a Kobe Bryant fan. But that one game and that one run with AI inspired me because he took down all the stars of the East and then went game 1 and took down the 2 mega stars and the most dominant player in the game is Shaq. So watching that, I'm like, yo, his approach, his arrogance. And I embodied all of that and I got my fair share of suspensions for it. But I don't think, I get to where I got to without the inspiring game of AI. I didn't have a father, male role model. I think his demeanor, his arrogance, it embodied you for the good and, it can hurt you for the bad. But I think that's what makes great people great, right? Everybody is not on the high end scale. Everybody got their flaws. So I think that pushed the narrative for him.
He's had so many fashion trends on the court too. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, the headband, the
braids,
the braids, the shooter sleeve. I mean, you even want to go into the wide, because that was how the jerseys the wide. And didn't he throw a cut off undershirt? Was he the one who did that?
He did
a little bit.
Yeah, he was rocking it a little bit. He was the first to definitely bring that sleeveless shirt game. He brought the swag to the game for sure. But I definitely think, for the most part, like AI in general, he was just a colossal because all stars related to him. You know, it was never something where he was not looked at as a type of guy.
That's why we can't. Nobody relates to the linemen in the NFL. Because none of us are 380 pounds.
But you know the crazy thing, and AI came with a great timing too because Michael Vick was at the peak, right? And Michael Vick was that other controversial player in the NFL. Braids, didn't really fit. What the ideal
the
look
mold
was.
Broke the mold. Yep.
Yeah, they all had their time in that run, and then the brand in the 2K. You got to think about it. 2K put Alverson on the cover first. He was one of the first. So the 2K3, and that's when basketball games at its peak. You had NBA Street Volume 2, and Nelly was the hottest thing.
My house.
You know what I'm saying? Not, you know what I'm saying? Like catch me on the road.
Yeah.
So, with the influence of hip hop culture in the early 2000s, and AI embodying that in the NBA, it meant so much more. To the people. So the people felt AI. He was a part of hip hop culture to his highest pedigree. And even him and Nelly got YouTube videos and, hung out. So it was it was close to home for sure. He felt like a native.
So shifting to another guy who's kind of breaking the mold in his own way. How did this creation, this video with Yuri Collins come about?
Okay, so, of course, just, being inspired from me already breaking down footage on my end and commentating these guys' highlights. I definitely saw Yuri opportunity as like, yo, this the nation leader in assists. And like, you don't always get to see their vision on the floor. Sometimes you might just catch the highlighted pass, but it's a lot of IQ check marks you got to cover as far as, pick and roll reads. It looked basic to a point guard, but these reads I didn't learn until my senior year in college. That if I knew how to read in a pick and roll, or how to pace myself to allow defenses to rotate and wait for that last rotation to swing the ball, I think I would have been better off. So just being able to provide that film room segment to the youth who watch Yuri to understand like the man behind this nation leader in assist tag is actually seeing a game from a lens that takes somewhat of IQ and somewhat of learning. And we could teach that. So my biggest thing is the kids is watching, the youth is watching. So the earlier they could get making the proper reads and seeing their favorite point guard doing the proper reads is the better and more advanced that they could be. Because I think if you learn how to read the floor going into your freshman year of high school, man, you're going to be a hell of a better prospect than a guy that's just looking to get his own and I think St. Louis got a narrative of small guards that has to navigate, and they think getting buckets is the way. And Yuri was never one of those guys who we prided on getting buckets. Since I met Yuri when he was in the 8th grade and I was in college and I worked out with him at a gym in Maryland Heights, his game was so polished. This is before the shoulder injury. And I was like, yo, what grade this kid in? Like the way he moved and his pace, it looked like he was already ahead of his level. And Coach Frazier was training us, and he was like, "Oh no, that's the best point guard in St. Louis. Like he's a point guard." Like and when they said that, that means like we don't have many point guards, like guys who play the position to its entirety. So me knowing that about Yuri for a long time, I said, "Yo, we got Brad, we got Jason, them stars, but most of y'all is Yuri. Most of y'all ain't passing 6 feet." This pool of guys who we could watch is only so slim. We ain't gonna shoot fadeaways and be able to dribble 1,000 times like Brad and Jason. Them was guys who was definitely a special bunch. Brad was somebody you could watch and learn, but Jason was just, somebody who I knew from when I saw him. Yo, this guy is gonna be one of the greatest players ever. So I think Yuri is the most common to a St. Louis kid. So being able to show his reach, like it's a lot that he could teach from his standpoint.
I think Yuri Collins really does embody big guard because I've said this since he stepped on campus. The kid, he may be like 5'9", 5'10", but he walks around like he's 6'7".
Chest high.
He really, like, I want to walk around like Yuri Collins walks around. Yeah. I would be much better off in life if I could walk around the way he does.
You gotta have that confidence. So yeah, I think Yuri is definitely a guy that he partially epitomized big guard. I talked to him today and we talked, and like I told him, he know what he gotta do. We gotta be more vocal. He can't be laid back. He can't be unknown. If you want to be pro, you got guys like Rondo, because that's gonna be your best bet comparison. With a streaky jumper like his. So I think Rondo take his lead from being vocal. So I think Yuri be vocal in that locker room, be vocal, with the coaching staffs and the game plan and just really bonding to being a pro. He could get there from SLU. But if he don't be vocal, if he don't speak, if he don't become a part of, that coaching staff and being that coach on the floor outside of his gameplay, then, we ain't gonna see Yuri Collins as a pro. So I like to let him know that. So
one of the wildest sagas in, I think, recent Billiken history, not involving a crime or alleged crime, was Yuri Collins' flirtation with the transfer portal this summer. And you came right out and asked. I mean, look, Peter and I spent a good 6 hours on Twitter Spaces that day. That's like, we took questions. It was a wild day.
Yeah, we had hundreds of people popping in and out to talk.
I mean, that's not even a brag. That's just a
people were just like, "What is going on? We need to talk about this."
Yeah. And you came right out, and to your credit, I mean, you get all this like access to SLU and all this stuff, and then you come out and ask about it. I give you massive amounts of credit. But he said, I'm just here to say, or I'm just here so I don't get fined. He kept it pretty cryptic.
Political.
But yeah. What did you make of the situation and kind of, I guess, where his head's at now and all that?
I feel like he stumbled, with entering the draft and then looking into the transfer portal. I felt like it had to be some type of friction there. Between SLU and his situation and the national recognition that he was getting, and seeing everybody getting paid, man. I have guys, you're talking 10, 15,000 a month that he compete with, You know, and what I say, younger guys now, the game come with a chain. You know, you see all the top college guys. I commented on this guy picture today. My guy Zeb Jasper at Auburn. I said, man, you college kids getting rich. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, you see the chain. And you see it from guys who you could flat out say, hey, man, Yuri Collins better than him. So if he's getting 15 a month, Yuri's worth 20. You know, Yuri's worth 25. And you're talking about a kid from St. Louis. I mean, the money that he could have made in that portal, he would have made more than his mom and his dad. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's great that, you know, he didn't bite. Because I think it showed, I wouldn't even call it loyalty in this game because it's business. I think him not biting showed that he's on a bigger mission to complete here for SLU. And I think he'll get his bag later as it comes. I mean, his role he got on his team, like, you can't buy it, right? You can't buy the engine to a college program. So I just think from SLU's standpoint, it's best to bring recognition to him. You know, you got the nation leader in assists. You want to bring promotion. I know, you know, the small schools don't want to lose out to these big schools due to transfer portals and paperwork, but the money's there. You know, the money's in the city. Somebody holding on to it. Billikens, safest hold, I don't know, 15 plus thousand. You know, so if half of those seats ain't filled, the marketing team ain't doing a good job. You know, if Yuri Collins running with a brand, then they're not hiring people inside to partner and do a deal. And you know, it's love to SLU and Travis Ford and what they got going. But I think as the game changed, as a city, you know, we got to hold each other accountable to keep up. You know, especially if we want to keep kids here. You know, we got like 6, 7 kids on that roster. So the biggest thing is businesses and the community, you know, buying into SLU, but you know, SLU buying into the community around it. So that's why, you know, 30 days before tip off, the serious. Hopefully we get it done. I got a thumbs up today. So hopefully, you know, Travis Ford and his team approve and we could bring more marketing exposure to the St. Louis market and Billikens basketball, because that's the biggest thing, marketability. You know, Tennessee got marketability. That's why they got their NIL deals sold up, and, you know, you got guys on their team making an outrageous amount of money. So at least as a mid-major, we just got to use that Yuri move to know, like, okay, we got to move in a certain direction, you know, if we trying to compete with the big dogs. But, you know, it's business, so it got to get sorted out.
So expand on the 30 days till tip off, because we'll take a right turn and we'll let you kind of talk about this project that you're working on, because I know Billiken fans were, you know, after they saw what you did with Yuri Collins, they were interested in seeing more. Right. So go ahead and kind of let our listeners in on what's going on with that.
Okay, so 30 days before tip-off series is literally how it sounds, right? 30 days before tip-off, we're going to take you into the locker room in a day in the life of a particular big guard. So for SLU, you know, of course, the big guard we're going to choose is Yuri Collins. So we're going to walk you through a day in the life of Yuri Collins being a SLU basketball athlete. I'm talking about from the time he wake up and go to workouts to strength and conditioning and a practice. You know, we're going to be able to hear from, you know, all the people who he interact with and all the coaches. You know, we're going to get a word from Coach Ford. We're going to get a word from the coach that recruited and brought Yuri here, the strength and conditioning. We're going to get the update on not only Yuri Collins, but SLU basketball in general. We're going to, you know, see where they at, ask questions, you know, but the main focus is shedding light on Yuri and a program and just really showing what SLU is about. So the Day in the Life series not only feature Yuri, but we kick it off at SEMO with Phillip Russell, former Billiken. Now he's a Red Hawk.
He was the one guy that I was like, well, let's see what Phillip Russell's up to. After when Yuri announced it, I'm like, anybody got his number?
Yeah. I don't think they'll be welcoming back to SLU, but yeah, Phillip's another guy. You know, we kick off the first episode with him. Then we at Courtney Ramey down at the U of A on Thursday, and we catch the Red and Blue game Friday. Then the following week, you know, we got SLU. Then we go with Keyshawn Gilbert out at UNLV. And then we pick up the big dogs on the back end. But, you know, I take care of the crib first and go 4 straight with just St. Louis kids. So it's just day in the lives at they specific universities and really just, you know, the promotion of the school, the coaches, the teammates, talking well on them and really just giving us insight on where they at that time during the 30 days before tip-off series, what they got to how they got a jail, what they expect from Yuri, what's different from last year's team to this year's team. We know with Pickett and Perkins and, you know, the rotation. You know, everybody got questions. Like, you know, I know a guy ain't transferring from Mizzou and he ain't gonna have a starting job. Like, we looking at it, but we also know, you know, that's yet to be said into the season. But we just really want to see the inside of the program, what Travis Ford plans is, how things are ran there, and just really be able to show a day in the life of an athlete at SLU and all the other universities that's complying to allow us to film. So it's like marketing and recruiting for the university in a way. You know, it's gonna let guys know, like, if your program represent what they want, and I'm gonna make sure I make every program that allow me in look very good as far as the questions that we formulate and you know, just today in general. So if anybody want to check out an example, check out Wendell Green Jr., Day in the Life at Auburn, a big guard film I produced last year for Wendell Green Jr., who will be going against the Billikens on November 27th in the jungle. So y'all can check that one out and just really see how we, you know, put the day in the lives together in all the segments. And, you know, it'll be more Yuri questions at the end to you know, answer and really put out there, man. I know he's trying to get it done this year because, you know, we all looking for bigger and better things. So I know Yuri trying to get the job done at SLU this year for sure.
So one of the things that jumps out in that video that you did with him is how much access you have, you know, like as guys, you know, who do our own podcast, and we're consuming as much SLU media as there is. It's rare that you actually see somebody physically walk from the sidewalk outside the arena, through the hallways, into the film room, into the locker room. You've got Yuri punching in his code and everything. It sounds like you've got some more access to the program coming up. Was this kind of all cleared in advance, or was this just, you know, see how the thing with Yuri goes, and then we'll see how it goes from there?
Okay, so that video was shot months ago. You know, my shout out to my production team, Nick. We had a bunch of different run-ins on the edits because the film room portion was a lot, right? That's a lot. You know, you got to time the footage on the camera, have us talking, syncing everything, the audio and the video together. So that was a delay, but I knew the summertime was easy. You know, nobody's there doing the summer. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's there doing the summer. You got the players, you got the janitorial, you know, forward, everybody crewing. So the access during the summer is there. It's now the 30 days before tip-off series where you got to contact the SID, and then the SID got to, you know, contact forward and really get the go-ahead. So when I dropped that video, I mean, no shade to coaching staff, but I DM'd a lot of people from that coaching staff prior to the Yuri video, and my messages wasn't open. But when that video dropped, them DMs from 3-4 months popped open. So I'm one of them people like, okay, now I got your attention. Let me go in for the kill. Like I need access. I need in. You know, I want to represent the city.
I relate to that way too much with this show.
You say what?
I said I relate to that quite a bit with this show. You have to, you know, I think, and bless his heart, and you know, rest in peace, Ford Stew, and he really opened the door for me and then by extension Pete to get access to the coaches, whether it be basketball, soccer, baseball. I asked I just wanted to prove that I could, you know, handle that. And he came on the show and helped me provide proof that I wasn't just some guy that was going to try to make everybody look bad or just, you know, bitch and moan. And, but although I do my fair share of bitching and moaning, the video ends up being about 26 minutes, and you're breaking down film together for about 20 of it. How much of the video did you actually watch in preparation, and how long did the filming take?
The filming really was, you know, a straight through shot because I had all the film compiled and put together before. We added the floaters in the end because I still feel like what I didn't tackle in that video was his passing angles. I think Yuri Collins does a great job at creating passing angles, and I hate that I left that out because I feel like that was the X factor. But the whole filming process was smooth. You know, it was a 40-minute straight roll, genuine conversations. All the questions that I had I sit on a notepad the night before I do a lot of these things and just write as if I'm already in that role. I say my what's poppin', it's your boy Big Guard. I say the little jabs I might throw, and I write it all down. And I don't study it for real, but the fact that I already put it out there and it's somewhat improv, it sticks with me. So when we sat in that film room and I seen each and every topic having numbers associated with it and already having the clips organized, I just knew the camera just had to roll. So it rolled for about 40 minutes straight. And we was able to cut it up and get to the nitty gritty of the footage. So yes, it was a straight through shot, not much breaks, just rolling.
So we really liked Yuri's response about 3-point shooting. I think he said, I don't really like to put excuses on my game. That's just something I got to work on. When you're talking to players specifically about the weaknesses in their game, how do you kind of build that rapport with them so they trust you and they don't just tighten up?
I think the biggest thing with the guys like that, Yuri always been a guy that's been around. Like he always seen me in the passing. We might not have never always strongly connect, but he knew I was around the game. So me just even presenting his clips all organized and spitting the numbers, I think the credibility factor shows. And then when you're not afraid to tell a guy something they're flawed at, because, my 3-point shooting might have been flawed at that level, you know what I'm saying? But you just really see where a guy head at. Like, okay, do he really got what it takes to be a pro? Can he take some type of constructive criticism? How do he take that? And I think Yuri taking that type of feedback, he know the stigma around his game. People think that he's not a strong shooter. So him just being able to answer it and say, yo, I like working on things. Like, I'm not really going to sit up here and say what I can't do. I'm going to just say what I got to work on. It's just showing his proven and willing ability to work. So I think pro scouts and different people could take a lot of note from that. And it was so crazy. I went to the SEC tournament down in Tampa, and I did a slew video when they played St. Bonavie, and I ran into Mike Smith. I think his name is Smith. He do like the NBA draft. And I was like, yo, you such and such? He like, yeah. I was like, my name is MaJuan Bates. I got a brand Big Guard. So-and-so, so-and-so. He's like, oh, you did the video on Yuri Collins. I'm like, yeah, I did a video when they played St. Bonavie. He's like, I actually watched it, and he asked me more questions about like, oh, what you think about him? And, I told him, I said, hey, man, when it comes to running your point guard, that's one of the best you could get at playing that position. Of course, being a pro, his shot is always going to be a knack and knock because it's a scoring game as well. And you got to be able to make an open three. But his ability to answer and wiggle showed that he's willing to work on it, and with the right help, he'd be able to shoot the ball. I think so, for sure. Getting just the right technique and just getting confident and comfortable enough to take ones, you're really going to make them. He played basketball his entire life. It's just about him getting the confidence and finding that part in his team to take up and take that shot when he have to, because do he really have to? I think Ford did a great job as recruiting the Gibbs and, the other guys around him,
right,
to paint around his flaws. I think for his individual success, that asterisk of his shot is going to stay there because the system that he's in, it relieves pressure off his shooting when you could just find a guy trailing, when you could just find a guy in stride. So I think as long as you're catching and shooting with confidence and late game situations, he's making that big shot and that big play. His status remained legendary as a Billiken.
One of the things that with these past two seasons is major injuries to one of Yuri Collins' weapons, and that's Gibson Jimerson 2 years ago. I want to say 2019 or 2020. 2020 was 2020, and then Javante Perkins 2021. What do you think he needs to? How do you think he's going to need to adjust now that he's not going to be? It's not going to be as difficult for him to find his main targets. He's going to have somebody taking the pressure off Gibson and vice versa off of Perkins. So do you think there's anything he's going to need to change as far as a mindset goes? Like, I don't have to try too hard to make the play.
Your biggest thing is studying and knowing their spots, knowing where guys at, being a step ahead, putting guys like Perkins and knowing where he scored best his opportunity, allowing Perkins to have the freedom to do his, but I think Travis Ford run a lot of sets. So just making sure guys coming off those off-ball screens tight, curling and rolling, I think the passing going to remain the same. He's going to have to find a way to find his spots and tally up that 11 points a game, despite playing 35 minutes. And I think a lot of that comes with him slowing down in transition, picking his spots, pacing the floor. But like I said, the scoring from him, this team not going to really ask and need, but I think his game's still going to come down late in the clutch is those shots he going to have to make. And it's just him picking his spots. I think that's the biggest thing. Picking his spots, becoming more of a vocal leader, making sure Gibb running the floor, which he will, Gibb's a pro, and just making sure Perkins is getting the ball in his spots where he's best at scoring and still feeding the big man down low and just getting everybody involved. He got his hands full. He got his hands full. Pickett, he got a lot of wings. He got his hands full, but down the stretch, ball in his hands. So he got to give us better closing. He got to give us better closing. And I think a lot of the time his closing going to come down to him betting on himself. Because if Perkins going, they're going to crowd that. If Jemison going, they're not going to allow him to catch and shoot. So a lot of times teams is going to be looking at Yuri to seal the deal and close him.
Yeah.
He's the weakest shooter out of the three. So he's going to be tested as he was the previous years. Yeah, I remember when the guys played far off from him. You know what I'm saying? Didn't really guard him, not last year, but the year.
It was like early Jordan Jet.
Yeah, they was like, show us what you got. If you can shoot it, you can shoot it. A lot of times he went down to the hole and figured it out at times, but it wasn't high percentage shots. So even when we talked about that mid-range, catching that middle ground is going to help him. You ain't the strongest from the three due to mechanic issues and how you shoot the ball around the rim. You under 6 feet. So you stepping in that middle, that sagging big, that sagging defender. That middle game and that mid-range is definitely essential for a small guard to pick and choose their spots. When from three, that's just not a lane we're going to see Yuri take 5, 6. But we could see him take 5 mid-ranges in the game. We could see that more usable. We start seeing Yuri Collins take 5 to 6 threes. Godly, the offense has changed. And obviously, 4 won't be running plays with him just doing that. So he got to pick his spots. And I think that mid-range, his floater, and I think down the stretch in games, him stepping in between those lines and being able to take and make that mid-range jumper compared to that decision he's going to make after he gets to that second layer is going to be key for him to close games because he got to be the closer. They're going to clog everything. They're not letting Jemison catch and shoot open threes. And Javante, they're going to put their best defenders and late game stretches is going to be a face guard. So we know who got the ball to PG. So Yuri going to have to show us he can close games, that he's a gamer. And I think he will. But
I think it'll be easier for him too.
Yeah, for sure.
When you're not getting, you're obviously already, the other team's going to have to use 2 of their best defenders already.
Right.
And I mean, it's so you don't even have that option to take your the guy who's normally covering the 1 off him for a better defender. So
the opportunity is going to come though. It's going to be
yeah.
there. But it's going to be a lot of the middle game because as you can see now, even if it's assists, when he pick up the dribble, he's picking it up, maybe top of the free throw line. And Frank or one of the big ceiling, and he's shooting the pass angle. A lot of his plays that he even make is in between the 3-point line. So to close the game, where you think those shots going to come from? We ain't going to – Sorry, Billikens fans. I don't know if we're going to see Yuri Curry. But I think that middle game, that Chris Paul game, he got to take a page out of Chris Paul book. And I think Chris Paul has kept the mid-range game alive, and he has been a guy, if you watch him playoff time, the mid-range jumper with Chris Paul look like, if he get inside the lines, it's game, it's cash. And he's been able to control playoff games from that area outside playing the Warriors. But I think Yuri could take a page out of his book and buy to get more into those shots because that's where he's comfortable, if you ask me. He's very comfortable pulling up and elevating and letting it go in the mid-range area. So he do that. His shooters do the rest. They play the perimeter. He play the middle. And he be good because every other spot on the floor is filled up.
Yeah. We were really impressed with the production on the production quality on your video. You mentioned
Shout out
before,
Tantilo.
you mentioned before your guy Nick, but how big is your team that works on these? How many people help you out with this?
Really 2-man team. The direction, of course, I give the direction, and I give even the production. I tell them what to put there, what to put here. With guys, when they work with me, they know one thing about me is that I'm a perfectionist. So how I'm gonna try to, present the vision is gonna be how I envision it to look. What comes to my mind when I say, hey man, 200,000 for you to hit the transfer portal, show the tweets of showing the receipts. I'm one of those people. I'm a visual. So Nick, one of my guys I met in Arizona, he's been shooting all my interview podcast type of style. He even want me to shoot a podcast. So it's him and a local guy here in St. Louis, Sean West, who was the other angle. But Nick is really the guy that's bought into the big guard vision. A lot of stuff we touch is gold. We started a series, How Smart is Your Favorite Big Guard, about a middle school phenom, Peyton Kemp. And we did a series called How Fly is Your Favorite Big Guard, talking about fashion with the young athletes, which is an interview style. But we get into, we rate your top 5 picks on Instagram. You telling us how you put this together. You shouting out the brands that send you free clothing, because somehow these kids getting a bunch of free shoes and a bunch of free clothing.
I need to figure that out.
You know what I'm saying?
I need to figure that out myself.
You know what I'm saying? So when you tell us, shout these brands out, I done reached out to the brands to get sponsor ads. So I think the biggest thing is just giving kids a platform to express themselves. So I think that's what we've been able to do. Nick been able to see the vision through and just know, like, if Big Guard got any type of creativity flowing, we gonna make magic. We just shot at the University of Michigan. So we got work that has been top-notch quality. It's just about constantly delivering the vision. And it's usually 2 guys for me, for sure. Hopefully the team get bigger, but right now it's really me selling myself to the world and having other people buy into the process. That's the biggest thing. How many people gonna buy in?
You guys are doing a great job.
MaJuan, thank you for coming on the Midtown Madness podcast and chatting with us. Where can your listeners go to find your work? Plug all your socials.
Okay. First and foremost, bigguardbasketball.com. Shout out to ALG Enterprises that consult majority of my social media deals, everything involved. Bigguardbasketball.com. You can figure out what we do, where we at. Instagram, Big Guard. The name is straight, BIGGUARD. I own the name Big Guard. I trademarked the mark. So Big Guard B-Ball on Twitter, Big Guard on YouTube, and Big Guard, tell Nike, tell Jordan, Adidas, Under Armour, that we on our way. We right now floating in the basketball space, but Big Guard is gonna be a known brand, a known stamp worldwide. So make sure when y'all see that G with the flex on, y'all give it a Big Guard. Just one. That's it.
All right. Well, we can't thank you enough again for coming on, and best of luck with the Big Guard.
Okay, and Peter, we got to get a Big Guard. What time? We got
Big Guard.
You know what I'm saying? Big Guard.
I'm so old.
Hey. I mean, I'm not much younger, but no. Hey, MaJuan, it was a pleasure, and we can't wait to see the 30 days out, man. Have a great evening.
Hey man, Peter, Zach, thanks for having me. Let's stay in contact. I know the communication to get it done was here and there. I'm dealing with some things, finishing this deal, right. But hey, let's stay in contact. I shoot you guys my number. We chat anytime basketball, and just know I'll be around the world. So as long as y'all catch me, we connect. Let's do it.
All right, sounds good.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Go Billikens.
Go Billikens. Pete, that was so much fun. I had a great time with that. Funny enough, I think my favorite part was just talking about Iverson.
Yeah, that was great.
I mean, like, it's just like I make fun of nostalgic things. Like, I think nostalgia is a drug, personally. But I got super nostalgic. I couldn't help myself, like, getting lost in thinking about, the blue Sixers jersey and of course, the shooter's sleeve and the black, white, and red headband that he used to wear. Like it was just so much fun. But again, thanks to MaJuan, and I cannot wait to see this Yuri Collins 30 days out video.
Yeah, I think it's going to be something like, as he was describing that, I thought that's something that literally every SLU fan would want to watch.
Oh,
I mean,
I'm gonna make popcorn.
Like,
I'm gonna light candles. It's gonna be. I may, it's gonna be fun. But actually, you know what I might get, Pete, for that, to watch that instead of popcorn?
Oh,
Chips and salsa, baby. Chips and salsa, baby.
That's a transition if I've ever heard one. That's right. Our sponsor is Two Men in a Garden, and not just chips and salsa. If you go to their website, they have a partnership, what they call Kitchen Hub, and they sell on their website their partners' products. And you can buy things from Coconut Kitchen, Jovic Brothers. They do like spice rubs, Tastachios, which are like flavored wood roasted pistachios, the Blessed Bee Honey Company, River City Craft Cocktail Syrup. And then they've got, like, I'm a fan of Antonino's on the Hill. They've got their marinara and a few other kind of odds and ends products there. So not just Two Men in a Garden salsa, but go to their website and there's a whole range of products that you can buy. Local companies, independently owned, great companies that work with our friends at Two Men in a Garden. So check them out. They're at twomeninagarden.com, and be sure and check out Kitchen Hub and all of the other stuff that they offer there.
Pete, let's move on to women's soccer. Really great piece. I think people are starting to learn what we already knew about Katie Shields, and that she loves St. Louis University. She loves coaching the Billikens. And according to this STL Today piece, she's here to stay.
Yeah, this was a really cool piece. Go open this up and read it if you can. It's by Stu Durando, a longtime SLU beat writer. Yeah, I'm here to stay. It was really the tone of the conversation. I mean, they talked about the really public announcement of her contract extension, which is not something that, as you and I both know, SLU is not known for that, the athletic department.
Not at all.
And she just flat out said, yeah, that was about recruiting, and more or less explained that when schools are trying to recruit against SLU, they're saying, hey, look, SLU's in the A10, they're a mid-major, they're not us. She's going to take a job at a Big Ten or an ACC school or a Pac-12 school as soon as it's offered. And SLU said, last year in 2021, no, actually, we're building new facilities. We've committed to these programs. We've extended her contract. The assistants are getting paid better too. We've got her everything she would get at a major program right here in St. Louis. And that was really a statement. And it's a lot harder to recruit against that when she's now there 10 years and every year keeps getting better than the last.
Yeah, I think I've said this before, but I think people that have listened to me long enough know how I felt about Ann Cordes and how much I revered her ability to bring a program up from relative obscurity and make NCAA tournaments and win A10 championships. And I very much am growing to have the same feelings towards Katie Shields that I had towards Ann, and this reverence and really just appreciation for her coaching philosophy, her recruiting philosophy, her commitment to the culture. She's just doing unbelievable things. She's hitting all the right notes to be successful, and it's impressive for someone, again, in their first head coaching job.
That's right. Yeah, that's an excellent point. And
I mean, how many head coaches have we brought in for field hockey?
Well,
first year. It's crazy.
This athletic program is in that weird middle ground where, yes, like coaches on the rise, on the come up, are going to be picked off by larger conferences, but it can also be that kind of place for coaches on the rebound, like a Travis Ford or something like that. And you never quite know, are we the destination? It kind of feels like we are with a lot of our coaches right now. And I like that. Like we've always talked about culture and continuity as being struggles when you're constantly in the middle of, kind of lower Division I and higher Division I. We don't have football. Whenever a conference breaks up, we kind of get caught in the shuffle of that, or at least we did, until about 15 years ago. But we're always kind of in that weird middle ground, and it's so important to get that consistency in coaching. But the way that they outline in this article, she's always selling people on culture, but now she's got facilities. She's got the financial commitment of the AD, things like a director of operations that the soccer program's never had before, more support for things like nutrition and conditioning, better travel accommodations, which is something I didn't realize that the soccer programs had been granted. And then, yeah, obviously the new building down at the end of the soccer stadium that really changes their whole game day and practice and everyday experience, quite frankly. It's just all been taken to the next level, and she just feels like the exact right person at the right time. And the other thing that I thought was, if you know a little bit about her, the stuff that was kind of left out of the article that I thought was interesting is she's raising a young family here in St. Louis. And that's an even bigger hurdle when you're another program coming in trying to poach somebody like her, and you are a Pac-12 or a Big Ten or whatever program. When you've got young kids, and I say this from experience, it's a huge a task to all of a sudden, like, wow, I don't know, like, she's in a really good place in preschool right now. He really likes his friends on the street, like it's not easy to just up and move. And in soccer, you're not talking about Oklahoma State comes in and offers her $3.2 million a year. We're not talking about football or something like that. So those lifestyle considerations, even though that was left out of the article, and I understand, like she's a private person and we respect that and everything, that's always going to be a consideration for somebody who's got a young family where they are and they're happy.
I think it's interesting you bring that up because you look at like Kevin Kalish, right? Was at SIUE. I think it's kind of common knowledge at this point that he kind of left SIUE to start a family, to have kids and be around for his kids. You look at Ann Cordes, went to Louisville. I don't really have any good idea of what happened there and why she left. But again, she left and then immediately had a daughter, had a daughter and then left. So, I mean, there are these considerations when it comes to, and she went to club too. She did the exact same thing that Kevin Kalish did after leaving SIUE. So when you're in these smaller sports or these, non-rev sports, there's not only do you have to worry about bigger schools poaching your coach, but you have to worry about what their life plans are. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I don't think anybody would. Obviously, we'd be bummed, but if Katie Shields wanted to be there more for her child, then I mean, you could see her taking over a club as a club director, just like Kalish or Cordes. So I think there's a lot that you're battling against when it comes to up and coming coaches, and like you said, Shields is the right place at the right time. She's got a strong academic background. SLU has a strong academic reputation, even though they let me graduate. But yeah, no, I just think she's found a place that's, I mean, I can't believe it's the Midwest. I figured she might try to go back to, the East Coast or maybe the West Coast. I want to say she's from the West Coast.
Yeah, she's from California, but went to Harvard.
Yeah, so I mean, you could excuse her for wanting to go back home in some sort of way. So, but she's outstanding, and she brings that energy and that passion and that culture.
Yeah, and one other tidbit from the article that I really liked was the recruiting philosophy kind of, and I'm a sucker for recruiting, but that got outlined in this article as well.
Never.
Yeah. And she talked about how they're good at finding players who are on an upward trajectory. I mean, obviously everyone's looking at that, but she thinks they do a really good job. And I know when she's been on our show, she's talked about her assistants and their ability to really identify talent at the right time. And that she thinks about it in 4-year chunks. Not every class has to be better than the last. Following basketball recruiting, there's so much pressure on major programs. Like every class has to be this big banner class and outdo the last one and outdo the last one. But she's thinking over the long term at all times, projecting out, their entire careers. And then they added that they do have 10 players already committed for 2023. And we know they've got a few 2024 commitments already as well. So that's just so exciting to see that this is, they're in such great shape. They're gonna, no matter what happens this year, they've got a lot of returning players coming in next year, and then the recruiting classes just keep piling up as well. I mean, the talent that's cycling through the program now is just incredible. So you get the idea that even when they graduate a big class, they've got the talent pool right there to keep winning this league right behind them.
I think it should be noted though, as we talk about keeping a coach happy, complacency, this here to stay, like having your coach say I'm here to stay is kind of like, it's kind of dangerous in a way, I think, for fans. Not to harp on baseball, but baseball is the one sport that's lagging behind in facilities now, on campus sports anyway. That when you have a person like Hendo, who is clearly ingrained in the St. Louis baseball culture, ingrained as the coach here at St. Louis, I can see how sometimes it's good for a coach to be like, hey, what's up? Could use this and this, or I'm thinking about taking this job somewhere else. So I think fans don't really maybe look at it like that sometimes. They kind of look at it like, oh man, like coach is trying to bail on us. Well, maybe not. Maybe coach needs to get, maybe they want to stay and they're, trying to get more for the program. It's a battle. It's a constant tug of war. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it all comes down to right person, right place, right time, right here. And we want nothing more than for her to retire from St. Louis University.
I would
that. That's what I want. I want that kind of like.
The only thing that wouldn't upset me is if she takes the women's national team job.
Oh, there you
go. That's the only one that I would be like, not necessarily upset. Like, yeah. I would be like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm happy for her.
We'll excuse that one.
I wouldn't hold any, I would be a little annoyed by everywhere else. But I like Katie. She's great, and so I can't be mad at her if she chose to leave for greener pastures at some point. Just to not necessarily greener pastures, but maybe a new challenge. I always wonder why big time coaches don't just decide to drop down and just try something new. Like if Coach K was like, yeah, I'm gonna go coach at some East Coast, St. Peter's. If he just you know what I mean? It would make sense. Yeah. So hey, I'm gonna prove I'm the best. I'm gonna go build this up over here. So anyway, the Billikens keep climbing in the polls under Katie Shields. Where are we at right now, Pete?
Number 10 in the United Soccer Coaches poll, which is the official poll. Number 9.
Which doesn't make sense to me. Do coaches really watch? That's what they always said. The SIDs end up in coaches polls. It's always the football SID that votes. I always think I don't know. That was just
which is fine. If they've got somebody who knows better doing it, then
exactly.
By all means. Number 9 by College Soccer News and number 8 by Top Drawer Soccer. That one's interesting because they were unranked by Top Drawer Soccer to start the year, and even in week 2, and so that's where they've made the biggest leaps. And it's almost like Top Drawer Soccer is overcorrecting,
yes,
sorry. We ignored you at first.
As you're saying that, I'm smiling because I'm thinking, I know exactly what you're gonna say.
So because they've taken those kind of absurd leaps there, They've actually got an all-time high ranking for the third straight week in the coaches poll, which is awesome. And as we'll discuss, 2 more wins this week. I don't know that they'll make big jumps from here on out. Like when you look ahead of them, you're talking about the real powerhouses in the game right now. And there in a lot of those schools, I think Pepperdine might be the exception, are all going to play these just gauntlet college soccer conference schedules ahead of them. We're talking about the ACC, the Pac-12, the Big Ten. I mean, these are the blue bloods, and so SLU has kind of found its spot right now, and it's just so exciting. I mean, these are the highest ever rankings for the program. This is some rare air, and it's an exciting place to see the program here.
They had 2 matches this week. Both they came out ahead at the end of 90 minutes. The first one was a bit nervy, I gotta admit. A 3-2 win versus Loyola Chicago. That's Loy Shy if you're on Twitter. It's a little Twitter inside humor, dumb joke. On Thursday, the 22nd, Pete. This one was a wild game. I think every team in the A10 is going to give the Billikens their best game. It's their Super Bowl, save for maybe Dayton, who probably has a little more, or a little less respect. I guess they don't show it. You know what I mean? Like they're not in awe. Like it's weird. But
and this one had the added layer of, as you said last week, this is the first time that Loyola has played SLU as an A10 conference foe, because of the, it's the fall sports. So it's the first time that they're coming head to head in anything. So this had that sort of added layer of, I don't know if you call it drama. It's different intrigue.
Too, because now it's almost like playing a non-conference game.
Right.
Like
we don't know them.
No, usually you have a couple years of tape against that team, but on this one you're strictly, you're going off of what you've seen from the last 6 games or whatever. So
and you said this team's won the Valley 3 years in a row.
Yes.
So we have the best program, the bar none best program from the Valley coming in. Like this isn't just a program that we took for their men's basketball and nothing else.
Right.
They're really strong in women's soccer. I mean, the Valley is a solid conference. It's not the conferences we've been talking about already. It's not a power conference, but to win it 3 years in a row, as we know from winning the A10 a few years in a row now, it's not easy to do. No matter what conference you're in, to win it every year is just not easy. So this is a good program. 39th minute, the only goal of the first half, Loyola got on the board first, and you talk about every team it being their Super Bowl. I'll give it to you in a second. But Madeline Barone curled a free kick in around the SLU wall to the left side of the net. She took it from just outside the box, where Sydney Beach took down a Loyola player one-on-one and got a very well-deserved yellow card.
Lucky to get a yellow card.
Yeah, it was a pretty hard yellow. But yeah, you say we're going to get everybody's Super Bowl attempt. Maybe we saw that after this first goal here, Zach.
Yeah, I thought their celebration was a bit over the top. I mean, on the field it was, obviously it wasn't like a, headbutting, the window of the new facility or anything. It wasn't a crazy on the field celebration, but the bench went absolutely apeshit.
They did.
So, and I think I was sitting next to Jack Reboyne, and I said, that's gonna piss SLU off. They're gonna not like that. I mean, obviously you don't like it anytime you're scored on, but when the celebration is as exuberant as it was, it gets under your skin a little bit. And when you're as good as the Billikens are, you don't want to wake up the sleeping giant.
Yeah, and the timing of that is especially noteworthy because that happens right before halftime. Yeah. And right after halftime, 48th minute, Emily Groark, assisted by Hannah Frederick, gets SLU on the board. So Frederick crossed it beautifully from quite a distance. And Groark, she kind of took her time, lined it up, and just hammered it from the inside of the corner of the box to the kind of upper corner of the far side of the net. And Groark's
strike was just unbelievable. Like it was sneaky elite. Like it was just. I mean, to hit it with the pace she hit it with and positioned it the way she did.
Yeah.
Left upper 90. It was a great goal.
Not to mention off a cross that was, as good as it gets from SLU's all-time assist leader, who just keeps piling them up. And then 3 minutes later, Emily Gaby down the left-hand side, she makes a nice little kind of fake inside, goes back out, and then finishes at far post. So now SLU's up 2-1. 6 minutes after they've come out, or that halftime has kicked off, and you're right. Maybe they did poke a sleeping bear here.
Yeah, I this team, man. Like sometimes you watch this team and you're like, you are so good, and yet they try to be that good, and you really don't have to be that good to beat some of these teams. Sometimes you have to kind of. It's counterintuitive, but you almost have to play down to their level and just kind of like kick it and go get it. Like just beat them. You're more athletic. Like things aren't working tactically. Just go try. You know what I mean? It's interesting because on the men's side, not so much, but I think on the women's side, with the gap in the A10 between the Billikens and the other teams, I think sometimes you just gotta muscle your way through and. Gaby's very, very good at that.
Yeah, for sure. She's so physical. She's got just a great combination of like, she's physical, but she's fast. She's smart. She's great at that. And so this is the score 2-1 for 30 minutes. And it's starting to feel pretty good for SLU, especially because you're looking at the stats and SLU's just kind of dominating. But Loyola winds up, Zach, 81st minute, getting one back. Yeah. It
was a poor corner, and I mean this has happened before. We've seen this again. This has been the one Achilles heel that the women have had the last couple seasons, and that they tend to push a little too forward at times, especially on corner kicks. And they've been beaten on the counter, and that's what happened here. Abby Swanson scored for Loyola, assisted by Olivia Knabb and Jordan Pascarella. It was crossed across the goal. Or wait, am I on the right?
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
Wasn't this the? Wait, no, am I? Yeah, this was the goal. It was off a counter, right?
Yeah, but it wasn't. I don't think it wasn't a corner. She crossed it, and it just kind of.
Oh yeah, this was a bad nobody touched it.
Nobody touched it. Yeah, we've been scored on a couple times this season this way, where it just kind of trickles along the goal mouth, and you're like, somebody get that out of there. It's almost like watching my son.
What goal am I thinking about?
I don't know, but getting back to this one, yeah,
it's like the Mandela effect. Jesus.
But luckily and hopefully you remember this one.
Yes, save our recap here, Pete. I'm just gonna leave it to you.
All right. Well, hopefully you remember this one because 3 minutes later, Caroline Kelly gets a goal, and this one's assisted by Katie Hauk. Hauk gives it to Kelly, and it looks like she's dribbling slowly up the right. And she's looking at her options. She's looking across the field. She's looking downfield. And even this, I guess you'd call it a shot, she just lobbed it into the net, basically, above the keeper, just below the crossbar from how far out, Zach? 40 yards?
Yeah. I mean, pass or shot. That's the game we're playing here. I think it was. This is a goal that you'll see way more often in women's soccer than men's soccer, just due to the height of the goalies. I think, but it was a perfectly placed shot, and it was outstanding. I mean, it was like one of those
and also weirdly reminiscent of that third goal at Xavier that was hit from distance. Exact same thing happened. Mm-hmm. So if you remember that highlight as well. Just above the keeper, just below the crossbar, just out of her reach, and one of those that
keeper maybe caught out just a step.
That's right. Yeah.
And to note that she's that
right.
Like she's not that far off her line. Like she could have saved that she was just a smidge too far, and for her to notice that and make that shot is unbelievable.
And I guess we'll never know. Well, maybe someday we can.
Caroline
ask,
Kelly,
but
come on the podcast.
yes, yeah. Did you mean to do that or not? Because her celebration was, yes, I absolutely meant to do that. Like she was, her celebration was like now what's up, Loyola? Like she was really, really emphatic with the celly on that one. But there was a little controversy on this play too, Zach. Why don't you take us through that?
Yeah, there was a handball, an uncalled handball. It popped up and hit Kelly's hand when she was settling it. Loyola was rightfully not happy about it, but yeah, too bad.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is one of those things that it happens sometimes. You see it go uncalled, and there have been enough of these kind of instances throughout SLU soccer that I feel like have not gone our way. And when one does, it's fine, especially when you look at the final stats. Except for that
George Washington game in the A10 tournament where there were 3 penalty kicks in the first half.
Yeah, but but when you look at this, and I'll get to I want to talk a little more about this after the next recap, Zach.
Yeah.
So SLU outshot them 19-4, 10-4 on goal. So Loyola did put all 4 of those on goal. 7-2 in corners. SLU was, more aggressive in every way. 8-3 in fouls. SLU also got 2 yellow cards. Beach, we talked about that one, and then Hauck got one late, taking down a Loyola player, while they're trying to run out the clock. So they deserve both of those. That was fine. It's just kind of a weird game, and like I said before, it felt like the Xavier game, in the way it went back and forth, and then especially with that late goal, just kind of a strange game all around.
Yeah, it was back and forth. It was it was fun but not fun. It's one of those where you're like, I could do without the stress here.
Yeah, I mean, we hit the crossbar multiple times.
Yep.
It's one of those games. Look, we outshot them 19-4. This could have been a lot worse for Loyola. What else can you say?
I mean, there were so many crossbar hits. They even hit it at halftime during the Kickin' for Chicken promotion. That's how prevalent the crossbar down at the West Pine end of the field was.
Yeah.
Was it? No, not West Pine end. I'm sorry, Laclede end.
It was the Laclede end. Yeah.
Yes. Do we need to start Okay, we should definitely start trying to get people to call it the West Pine end or the Laclede end, like we're in Europe.
Yeah, I was gonna say
awesome.
A British like a neighborhood soccer stadium where it's like
the Stratford end.
Yeah, they've at the end, or the West Pine stand, the Laclede.
Yes, stand. I love it. Make it happen,
yeah.
Kevin and Katie. Make it happen. Today the Billikens. Well, I guess it'll be yesterday when we drop the episode. I do that every 2 episodes, but 1-0 win at Duquesne. This one, I actually caught it on a non-spoiler replay, and this one. I mean, yeah, it was just kind of the Billikens were dominating, and I was like, there's no way Duquesne's gonna score here. I want to take a nap. But it was a good game. Pete run us down, kind of the.
Yeah, so this game was a 1-0 final. In the 55th minute, Abby Miller scored a header off a cross by Emily Gaby. Both of those were struck really, as you put it, a searing cross headed home.
It was a 500-degree sear on that pass.
Yeah, it really was. Gaby put it right there. Miller, with authority, put it home. Duquesne looked dejected after it went in, like they knew that was it. Just kind of reading their body language there. And they, look, given what a lot of other teams with SLU have gone through this year, they probably thought, oh God, here it comes, here come the floodgates. But that wound up being it. Last year's result, I think it is noteworthy, Zach, at Duquesne was a 3-1 loss. We know last year was a lot more up and down, but this does seem to be a team they have a little more trouble with than a lot of the rest of the league. They do have 4 losses against Duquesne, since joining the A10, which is more than they do have against most other teams. Outshot them 21-4. On goal, it was 9-2, 8 corners to nothing from Duquesne. and then 11-9 in fouls who had more. But Zach, the shot total is something I want to go over for just a second, because this is 2 games in a row. 19 and 21 is our shot totals. 4 and 4 from Loyola and Duquesne. So 40-8. That's a 5-1 ratio, and we won both of these games by just 1 goal. I could really do without the high drama games that we dominate. I don't know about you.
That's just soccer, man.
It is
in a lot of ways. That's just soccer.
It is, but is there a reason, because of the way that this team plays, that the style is maybe less efficient scoring wise than it could or should be?
I think it's interesting, because when you would talk about the men's side and you ask me this question, you're looking at a guy who came from the Gallagher school of things. Now, of course, you are bringing in local talent that are from the Gallagher school of, pass it around until you can pass it into the net. So, I mean, maybe, like I said, I think at times this team is just so good that they do try to, out talent and out, skill the other team, when you really, like in the A10, I think there's a fine line between prepping for the postseason and getting to that NCAA tournament and being ready to play those types of games, where it's high skill, high talent, very much, tactical. Whereas, I mean, in the A10, sometimes you just have to will the game in your favor when you're this good, and stop worrying about the tactics and the skill. But I think you have to get that practice in, that game speed practice, where I think that's kind of why we're seeing these goals happen in the second half instead of the first. Take the first half, see if you can't get those goals playing, tactical, build-up soccer, and then if you can't do it, just lob it in there, go get it, and score a goal.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, I think there are reasons, and I think parking the bus, being if you're Duquesne, is probably one of those reasons.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think there's also, it seems like we play a style that creates a lot of chaos and opportunity in front of the opposing goal, and it's not always the most decisive play in front of the net, but I think it's sort of just create as many chances as you possibly can, and see what happens. I think it's also worth noting we've been without Hannah Larson for the past couple of games, and we know her to be a difference maker in that front third. So hopefully, I don't know what the status is there. I haven't heard anything about that, but hopefully we'll have her back soon.
Yeah, I think not, again, we don't speculate, but of the things that oh well, actually I won't even get into it, but one of the funny notes from Thursday night was early in the game. They're all the players obviously line up right on the sideline, standing up, and of course you have Julia Simon standing there on crutches, and sure as hell somebody kicks a ball. I think it's Bree Halverson tries to clear a ball out of bounds, and it hits one of the players standing right in front of Julia Simon in the knee. Like, I'm talking like pegs her in the knee. And everyone is just like, oh my God, that was way too close. Like, you see Angie, the trainer, come down, and no, you can't be standing there.
Yeah, you need to
it
back
was
up.
Yeah, it was like, get out of there. So that was a funny note. Over on the men's side, we have some Billiken in the pros news.
Patrick Schulte, who we had on the show not all that long ago, friend of the show,
non-recurring guest apparently.
He was named MLS Next Pro Goalkeeper of the Year, which is great. He's playing for Columbus Crew 2, which is their their second team. And we, as we talked to him about before, that's where he was going to play this season. That's, they've got a development plan for him, and all he's done is go out and be the best at his position in the league. So credit to Patrick Schulte on a great season. It seems like he's absolutely on track.
Not really much to write home about for homecoming Saturday the 24th against VCU. Obviously, you had the halftime fireworks. That was about the only fireworks in that game. 5,762 people paid to see it, or pseudo-paid. It ends up in a 0-0 tie. The Billikens outshoot VCU 15-12, but VCU put 6 of them on net, compared to SLU's 4. The corners were 6-1. SLU fouls 11-10. VCU had 1 yellow card. The Billikens are 3-3-1 overall, 1-0-1 in conference. VCU moves to 0-4-4, 0-0-2 in A10 play. The Billikens will take on Marquette on the 27th, and then Loyola on October 1st. Pete, on the volleyball side, why don't you run us through just a real quick recap of the weekend?
Yeah, I will. I'll recap these 2 games at Rhode Island. The first one was a 3-2 win on Friday the 23rd, 27-25, 20-25, 20-25, 25-23. And in that 5th match, SLU took it 15-9. Or sorry, in that 5th game, 15-9. Kate Opperly had a season high of 40 assists. Rogers had 19 digs. Kills were pretty much even between Richardson with 15, Hankin with 14. Hill and Mattingly had 12 each. And then another 3-2 win at Rhode Island on Saturday the 24th. This one, SLU loses the first 20-25, then 25-17 in the second, 13-25 stinker in the third, 25-17 and 15-9 in that 5th game again. Richardson had 14 kills, Rogers 21 digs. Opperly had 36 assists in this one, so quite a weekend for her. Zach, I gotta say, they did it again. Down 2-1 twice, and they pulled out the 4th and 5th to win it. You have to love the grit and determination of this team, Zach.
I hate you so much for putting this in here. Sure, I'm happy they won. I am happy they won. Again, you can look at this team's record and say, wow, they're winning. Great. Sure. But again, if Travis Ford put a weak schedule out there and ran through it, not even ran through it, had a few losses.
Right. Came from behind against.
Against, again, Rhode Island is not in the top 4. Like, unless the game is against Loyola, Dayton, or VCU, the result, the other than a loss, the result doesn't matter to me. Mm-hmm. I cannot bring myself to, like, again, in that first game against Rhode Island, like, you can look at the results fine, but in that game they spent, I want to say, 10 minutes at the start of, I think, game 3 trying to figure out a rotation issue. How?
A win's a win, and
it is a win's a win. A win and a win on the road in conference is a win in conference on the road. I have harped on this for 3 years now. It's hard to do, especially in the A10 with the travel situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't have much more to say. Other than Friday, September 30th and October 1st, they will take on George Mason. On the field hockey side, just real quick, they played Richmond and lost 4-0. They were outshot 20-8, 13-3 shots on goal. SLU drops to 1-8 on the season, 0-2 in conference. The Friday the 30th at VCU, and then Sunday the 2nd at Towson. Pete, run us through swimming and diving real quick.
Yeah, so on Friday the 23rd at Wash U under at Jim Halliburton's new home, by the way, where he just became an assistant coach. The women won 136-104. They won 8 events. 3 different Billikens had 2 wins apiece. Emily Leonard in the 500 free and 1,000 meter free. Kenna Cashman in the 200 IM and the 100 breaststroke. And then Elizabeth Voss won the 1 and 3 meter diving competition. The men, however, lost 123-91. They won 5 events, and Theodore Ament was the only who won 2. He both won the 200 and 500 free. And then they had the the Butler double duels on Sunday. Pulling that one up right now, Zach, because unfortunately didn't get to the notes, and it doesn't look like they've actually posted results from this one yet, unfortunately. But regardless, SLU swimming was out at Butler this weekend, and they will take on Bellarmine and Umsel at the Simon Rec Center on Saturday, October 1st. And this is one of those seasons, Zach, that just kind of snuck up on me. I think of it more as kind of a winter sport.
Yeah.
So every year when it starts, I'm always kind of like, oh, swimming. Oh, okay. Wasn't thinking about that.
Yeah, it looks like Mary Woods is at least the top listed assistant coach for swimming and diving. So apparently, it seems as though she's acting head coach. She's the only one with an email listed.
Yeah.
Renee Ham is the second listed coach. So I guess that's kind of what they're going to roll with for this year. I don't really see any. I doubt they see any real need to hire right now.
Yeah.
It's not like continuity is a problem. On the baseball side of things, Jason Erie, hired as new volunteer assistant coach, will serve as infield coach and first base coach. In addition to helping run camps and assist with scouting, he was the director of player development and analytics at UNLV last season. He served as a student manager for Cal State Fullerton as an undergrad. I still don't know how that's possible to have a volunteer assistant. That's wild. And I know that's an NCAA thing, not necessarily a SLU thing. So I will say that. It's crazy. I'm assuming they get some sort of stipend or tuition, or I have no idea. So,
yeah.
But best of luck to Jason Erie now in his first year with the Billikens. Pete,
Yeah, for sure.
Any final thoughts before we head out?
My final thoughts are that you just go, if you've listened to the whole interview by now, if you've made it to this point in the podcast, if you have not watched the Big Guard video with Yuri Collins,
Big Guard,
go watch that to know what we were talking about. For the first 45 minutes today.
Actually, watch that. Stop,
first.
Pause this now, go watch it, then come back and start this from the beginning again.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's that's right, Zach. Or watch this or stream this on another platform if you're listening to it, something like that. But regardless, I think you need to go watch that, and I think it sounds like he's got a lot more good stuff in store for us regarding some SLU content. And then the other thing, go read that Katie Shields piece in STL Today or in the newspaper if you still get that, the Post-Dispatch. Really, really nice piece. And makes you feel great about the state of the program.
Well, that wraps up the week that was in Billiken Athletics. Follow us on Twitter at Midtown Mad Pod, at Peter is a tweeter, at Zach Miller MMP, and on Instagram at Midtown Mad Pod. We also appreciate any and all suggestions you might have for the show. Go subscribe to it on all platforms. If you haven't left a review, do so as well, please, with 5 stars, preferably. As always, Pete, go Bills.
Go Bills.